Monseigneur, welcome. Thank you for joining us here today, and welcome back, everyone. It's time now for our final panel of this Ocean Innovators platform. I think all of us in this room understand the importance of reaching the ambitious 30 by 30 goal that was laid out by world leaders a little over a year ago today. One of the key things to get there is to create more marine protected areas, or MPAs, which are, of course, crucial for conserving our ocean's biodiversity. But managing these areas, as we've said earlier today, is a real challenge, and we're going to take a closer look now at the new technologies out there for more effective and affordable management of our MPAs. For this panel, would you please welcome back our moderator, Michelle Lee, and her panelists, Anna Draganova, Director of Pollination, Chiara Petroli, the CEO of WSense, Neil Tinmuth, the CEO of Aqua Ocean, Nick Wise, the CEO of Ocean Mind, and Romain Renou, Executive Director, MedFund.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be here, and we're going to get right into the conversation. I want to start off by highlighting the innovators and experts that we have on this panel today to help us highlight technology and the role it plays in MPAs. So, to get us started, I am going to have Anna Draganova introduce herself. She is director at Pollination Group, comes to us from London, and wears the hat of an investor.
Thank you, Michelle. Pollination Group, some of you may have heard of us. We are a specialized advisory and investment firm focusing on accelerating the transition to net zero, nature positive, and resilient economy. As advisors, we work with corporates and financial institutions on net zero and nature positive strategies. And as investors, we invest in natural capital and nature-based solutions, including through our joint venture with HSBC called Climate Asset Management. Some of the work that we've done in the blue economy space that will be relevant for the purpose of this panel includes the development of Delta Blue Carbon, which is the world's largest mangrove restoration project. We're working with policymakers and global organizations such as WEF on the development of high integrity principles for biodiversity markets. And we are also the strategic advisor to Gaia, which is a large blended finance vehicle focused on delivering climate adaptation in emerging markets.
Wonderful.
So, Michelle, if you allow me, can I wear the hat of an investor and a project developer who has the potential of buying some of these technologies?
Absolutely. Next, we have Romain Renou, Executive Director of the MedFund, coming to us straight from Monaco, who serves as an expert. Romain?
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Monseigneur. Yeah, the MedFund, is a conservation trust fund. So basically, we are a financial mechanism that supports marine protected areas' effectiveness in the Mediterranean Sea. So conservation trust fund, what we do is that we raise funds, we invest funds on following a blue and green investment policy, and we use the products in order to support marine protected areas across the Mediterranean region. And it has been initiated under the leadership of Monseigneur by Monaco, France, and Tunisia some years ago.
Wonderful. Next, we have Neil Tinmuth, CEO of Aqua Ocean, coming to us from London, who wears the hat of an innovator.
So my background is about 20 years in the marine sector, mainly in hydrographic surveying and marine geology. I actually got into uncrewed surface vessels here in Monaco in 2016 with the launch of SEBA 2030 and the Shallow Ocean Discovery X Prize competition. I was fortunate enough to be here when they were announced and entered a team of my alumni from the JEPCO Nippon Foundation into the Shallow Ocean Discovery X Prize, and that team went on to win, which was a great experience, but started me thinking, what is the real opportunity of using robotics in the marine environment, and how can we use it for conservation to build scalable technologies?
Wonderful. Next, we have Chiara Petroli, founder of WSense, coming to us from Rome, and wears the hat of an innovator.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the invitation. My background is that of a scientist. So I've been a full professor at Sapienza University and lab director for many years, even vice rector. But then a decade ago, I got passionate about solving one of the key challenges that I think we have in front of us. So getting really data from the water column, from the underwater environment and transforming data into information. And I realized, having this kind of a background, that this gap is due to the fact that while we can use Wi-Fi in our environments, we don't have an underwater Wi-Fi, and it's extremely challenging to communicate underwater. It's unreliable based on traditional technologies, and we had to come up with completely different solutions. And we have done it. We have patented a solution on how to build underwater wireless mesh networks, which means multi-hop communication of data. And based on this, we can connect everything which is underwater. So underwater drones, sensors, actuators, and even divers. And then we can also connect sensors, right? So we build underwater Internet of Things. So nodes that can go to 300 meters, in what we are releasing this year, even to 3,000 meters, and giving real-time data as underwater wireless observatories. We connect over 20 different sensor vendors, so we reason on the sense data, and so we transform data into information. To make an example, we have the Pelagos here, and we would like to know, based on the discussion going on at the Ocean Week, what's happening and what is the best policy to apply, as well as the level of noise, for instance. How can we do it? Unfortunately, we are blind underwater. But now, thanks to these technologies, a company like WSense, which is now 50 people, fast growing, having done a Series A, can transmit information in real time when there is a marine mammals to the surface and through the internet, letting us know when some kind of activities can impair the life underwater. And we have applications from Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where we are monitoring the first marine protected area, to MPAs in Italy.
Wonderful. And our last introduction is with Nick Wise, founder and CEO of Ocean Mind, coming to us from the UK as an innovator.
Hi, my background is in computer science and technology, mostly big data systems and AI. So I've been building hyperscale software solutions for about 25 years. And in the past 10 years, that's all been focused on global ocean health. And so that's how Ocean Mind came to exist.
Wonderful. Let's get started with some questions here. And funding is a really important piece of MPAs. And if we need to move beyond paper parks, we need monitoring, surveillance, and that's why I want to come to Romain, who leads the Med Fund. Can you tell us about it? And can you tell us, from funding MPAs and actually giving the money to managers, what are some challenges and what are some opportunities?
Yes, thank you, Michelle. Yes, you said it. I think our mission is really to turn paper parks into effective marine protected areas that deliver ecological but also socio-economic benefits. So I think one of the most important points is to really support the day-to-day operation of managing MPA, which is allowing surveillance, sometimes in huge marine protected areas, probably on the sea, but maybe down under, also the sea, to see what is happening. So the surveillance is key. This is number one. Then I would say that scientific monitoring is also very important, just to make sure that actually the conservation status of the ecosystems that we are protecting are improving thanks to this marine protected area system. So this is also very key. Then we have some governance issues because the marine protected areas are shared by different stakeholders. Could be like for fishermen, could be of course touristic operation, coastal communities. But they are also home of biodiversity. So all those different aspects need to be shared and discussed within broad governance systems. Though this is all those kind of activities that we support, and we also try to convert unsustainable activities into more sustainable activities, especially for fishing, of course. Mm-hmm. So those are the main challenges that marine protected areas managers are facing on a day-to-day life, and the funds support them, supply grants in order for them to really operate over the long term, because conservation takes time, right? So it's not happening in a couple of years, so it takes time, so we need investment for the long term. And this is all the idea behind this financial mechanism is to be a sustainable financial mechanism that is able to really provide funding for long-term staff on the ground.
Right. And can you reiterate for us for the Med Fund, what's unique about that? How does it bring together funding to provide funding for management?
Yeah, well, I sometimes say that we are building bridges between science and finance, between finance and conservation, and also building bridges between shores of the Mediterranean Sea, the East Shore, the South Shore, and the North Shores. And what is maybe special about the Med Fund is its endowment fund, meaning that we invest a certain amount of money following, as I say, the green and blue investment policy. So we are really picky when it comes to financial products we invested in. And then we are using the financial products that is generated by those investments to support the day-to-day operational of marine protected areas. So this is the whole idea behind the Med Fund. It's like a virtuous circle. We do support MPAs on the ground, but at the same time, we are part of the blue economy because we do invest in blue economy companies.
Perfect. And that's a good segue to financial instruments. And I'm going to come to you for the types of financial instruments available to help accelerate innovations and what will specifically be relevant for these types of startups that are very technology heavy.
Thanks, Michelle. I will frame my response in the context of the report which we developed for the Sustainable Markets Initiative last year in collaboration with Barclays and HSBC. As Gerard Mathieu mentioned this morning, it's a practitioner guide which helps commercial investors understand how they can start financing coastal nature-based solutions. Without going into too much detail, there are probably three important takeaways for our panel. The first one, and that's a recurrent theme from all the panels up to now, investing in coastal nature-based solutions and supporting technology requires patient capital. There is a need for significant investment in building the enabling environment in terms of market standards, in terms of legal frameworks that allow the monetization of the benefits that these projects deliver. Having said that, there are examples of successful, commercially successful coastal MBS projects, and oftentimes these projects will rely on bundling different revenue streams. Blue carbon credits is the most established and reliable revenue stream, but we are seeing project proponents starting to tap into alternative revenue streams, such as payments for ecosystem services, such as sustainable aquaculture, such as ecotourism. So the technology that has to support these project proponents will therefore have to be able to cater to a lot of different use cases and different revenue streams, which adds a layer of complexity. And then the final takeaway is, despite the nascency of the market, there are strong signals that the market has the potential to develop into investment asset class. In the report, we present an exhaustive overview of the financial instruments that are available to finance different stages of the project lifecycle. The main takeaway is that coastal nature-based solutions and blue economy as a whole is emerging as an investment thematic across asset classes. In the debt capital market, we see a significant increase in the issuance of blue bonds. Some of you may be aware that ICMA published last year blue bond guidance, which outlines what constitutes eligible activities and what are the use of proceeds requirements. This is a significant market development. It indicates that blue bonds are becoming an established subset of sustainable finance. In the equity space, we have a tenfold increase in natural capital funds, nature tech funds, carbon finance funds, all dedicated to channeling capital in nature-based solutions or nature tech. A lot of these funds are impact-oriented, long tenure funds, or they are blended finance vehicles that use concessionary capital to attract commercial investors.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anna. So we have a challenge and an opportunity as we scale to 30% of the oceans. We need solutions to monitor, to surveillance, and also maybe enforcement as well. And we have some technology innovations. So let's get a little bit of a deep dive on what each of these solutions do. And we're going to start with Aqua Ocean.
Yeah, so Aqua is developing a uncrewed surface vessel, very much like Saildrone, if you were listening to the previous presentation. Essentially, it's developing something that is scalable and deployable around the world. We're looking at real-world open ocean conditions. I think where we differentiate ourselves from a lot of other players in the market, because it is a growing market and there's a lot of interest in the uncrewed surface vessel, is we have realized that after operating USVs for about 7 years, realized that some of the biggest challenges comes with the entire notion of an uncrewed surface vessel is you've taken a very big boat and you made it very small to be able to reduce costs. And anybody who's been at sea on a small boat knows it doesn't really handle very well. Data collection doesn't last. If you're doing surveillance, if you can imagine a mast on a vessel that's 5 meters, you're going to move, your movement increases significantly as the vessel bobs up and down, and that's not very efficient. So we've spent the last 2 years developing a concept that's based on a SWAT vessel. It's a small waterplane area twin hull. It is be able to build it at a 13.5 by 9 meter size, so we reduce the cost, but it has the proven performance of a 36 to 40 meter vessel. So you can actually operate and collect data in real world conditions. And this is really, really important, because if we want to do enforcement, surveillance, data collection in the open ocean, we can't be just going out for 50 days, 100 days a year. We need to be out there persistently. People talk about persistence from an endurance perspective, but it's also about your operational availability. So that's what we enable. The other novel thing about our technology is we've developed a hydrogen powertrain to power our vessel. It decreases zero emissions, but it also has some additional benefits from acoustic signatures and the likes. So what we really offer as a company is we're a platform as a service. We realize that this is a multi-stakeholder problem. There is government agencies from navies to fisheries to coast guards to environmental services, water quality. They all need basically a presence at sea, and they all need a platform to deploy their sensors on. And that is what we're building out to be that platform for people to enable them to collect the data and scale scale the amount of data collection.
Wonderful. And let's hear from Ocean Mind.
So Ocean Mind has been ensuring the sanctity of marine protected areas since around 2015. Indeed, our analysis was part of the case for establishing the 4 million square kilometres of UK Blue Belt network. And so that's some of the world's most remote and pristine locations. We're using satellites, remote sensing and artificial intelligence to understand what people are doing on the ocean, and then we help the regulators stop people doing bad things. So in the context of marine protected areas, this means we'll use all available surveillance techniques to detect activities within marine protected areas. We'll use technology to sort and filter the data so that we can then understand potential non-compliance, and then we'll construct concise and actionable intelligence for regulators to act upon. We also support the law enforcement process through international diplomacy, information sharing between authorities, and then collaboration with Interpol. Our data sources include things like satellite images, satellite radar, infrared imaging, radio frequency detection. We use unmanned aerial and surface drones, static sensors, and then open data from ports and public bodies, and then a range of commercial and proprietary and government data. Of course, this body of data is far too big for humans to look at manually, and so we use artificial intelligence to find the suspected non-compliance, and then our team of analysts will investigate. The analyst team works with officials to deliver intelligence training and capacity building so that authorities are then able to enforce effectively themselves. And we then place our staff on their team so that we understand their needs and objectives and help them select the best technologies and practices to be successful in their own unique context. And I would say with the advancements over the past 5 years, there is no reason any park needs to be a paper park.
Nice. And we'll come to WSense. Kira, if there's anything that you want to add or reiterate about WSense, we'd love to hear it.
Yes, basically WSense brings this monitoring capability to the underwater environment. So we are used to having surface vessels. We've seen a lot of technology or using satellite, but we cannot penetrate the underwater environment. Instead, what we have built are kind of underwater wireless multi-parametric observatories. You can really plug in through an underwater switch different vendors' sensors, so you can monitor water quality, but also connect hydrophones to listen, give voice to the ocean, okay? And video camera, so you can take a snapshot and send it through the underwater wireless network to the surface in real time. So we see, finally, this environment. And knowledge, I was listening to Sylvia Earle yesterday, knowledge is key. Because when we know that something is happening in real time, first of all, we can optimize all the other systems. We can optimize satellite observation, we can call drones with specific payloads. And second, we can also raise the awareness, because nowadays we are actually polluting, we are creating problems to mammals with noise, but people don't know. Don't know even that when we do construction, we are generating noise. This amount of data that now we enable, they can raise awareness and allow all of us to act better to protect marine protected areas, but in general, marine life.
Wonderful. Let's go into each of the innovations and talk a little bit about the business model and what funding has looked like so far. And we're going to have our experts weigh in to ask some questions here as well. We'll start with AquaOcean.
Sure. So our business model is platform as a service, as I mentioned, offering the platform and the operation of the vessel, whereby various stakeholders can deploy their sensors as needed into an operational environment. We also have a sales model that is to areas that do not want to allow somebody else to operate the vessels. Funding to date, we've been very fortunate to have some really great investors, impact investors like Catapult Ocean, Blue Action Labs, who are very focused in the marine space. It's really great to work with those type of investors. But where a lot of our capital has come from is actually from government funding. We work in a space around decarbonization of the marine sector. We work in artificial intelligence, and we work in environmental impact and offshore energy. So these are highly topical subjects. So there's been a lot of government funding. I think we've received over $5 million in government funding from the UK to help us develop just to where we're getting.
Wonderful. Maybe, Romain, I'll come to you in terms of, whether you want to wear your funding hat or your management hat. A solution like Aqua, what are your questions?
I'm the MPA guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, that's great. Makes me a little bit younger. No, I think that the main question is, of course, the cost. Because for the Mediterranean Sea, for example, we have around 8% of the Mediterranean Sea that is covered by marine protected areas, and we need to reach 30% by 2030. So there is a huge need for more and better marine protected areas, this is for sure. But we have also to have in mind that most marine protected areas, 87% of MPAs in the Mediterranean Sea are located in the north shores. So we need to really prioritize the work that will be done in the next year in the south and east shores of the Mediterranean. And governmental funding is quite scarce there when it comes to environment, and when it comes to marine environment is even less easy to get. So my concern about that is a concern about the cost, one, and the second point is the transfer of technology. I think, Nick, you addressed this point. How can we make sure that the people on the ground, the staff of the MPA, will be trained, will be able to maintain those systems, and also will be able to afford the maintenance of those systems?
That is a great question, and I think we should actually go across the panel to maybe have that answered, and we'll start with AquaOcean. The cost?
Sure. I mean, operating the ocean is not a cheap thing. I think it's one of the biggest challenges is to put a platform out there that is capable is going to be expensive. How we see it is about the value you create. So a lot of people go towards, if we buy a smaller, cheaper platform, that's more affordable. But ultimately, if you're operating in 50 days a year with that asset, compared to an asset that's maybe 3 times the price but can operate 300 days a year, the value that you can get from that is significantly more. I think it's also understanding where the leverage points are in value. So being able to work across multiple stakeholders, understanding where those budgets come from, because it's not all from one budget for an MPA enforcement and data collection, being able to leverage those multi-stakeholder amounts of funds, and then being able to take a look at some of the other leverage points that we can work with regarding how do we actually enable more surveillance, or can we move towards autonomy where you're actually, at the moment in uncrewed vessels, there's a lot of personnel. Uncrewed vessels are now remotely operated. Nothing is fully autonomous. And I don't think there will be anything fully autonomous because of regulatory reasons for the next 10, 15, 20 years. But if we move towards swarm-based operations where we can actually further decrease it, so about a third of the cost of an autonomous vessel operation is the personnel. If those same people are overseeing 5 vessels, you can decrease the cost further. I think it's really about identifying where those leverage points drive down the cost whilst adding that value.
Mm-hmm. I'd be curious to hear from Chiara.
Yes, first of all, where we are. We have an industrialized solution since 3 years now, so we have deployed in 25 sites from northern Norway in polar regions to Mediterranean to Red Sea. So based on this, what have we learned? We have developed the Internet of Underwater Things, to this sensing technology that you can deploy based on experience with salmon farmers in Norway, to make it usable by everyone, because usability is number one, okay? At the same time, we have changed something in terms of lifetime. So we have developed solutions that transmit sustainably below the thresholds in terms of emission. When we use acoustic, we use multi-frequency acoustic and wireless optical communication to be sustainable. At the same time, we actually have developed solutions where we provide turnkey services to non-marine protected areas. So we really provide the installation, and because it's super low power, it can last for years potentially without going there and recharging. You get the data in real time, and what you need to do is that you need to look at the web interface and possibly send commands to request a different kind of information. So we have been working exactly on this because, you know, we cannot change reality. Even if you can train, marine protected areas don't have enough personnel. So we need to provide a simple alarm system, the same we have in our own homes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Nick?
So I think satellite surveillance is probably one of the lower cost mechanisms for supporting enforcement, not least because with the European Space Agency, there's quite a lot of free data that can be drawn upon. But of course, every MPA's context is different. So in some cases, you need commercial data, and in some cases, you don't. So it is very much dependent on the particular objectives of the marine protected areas to the level of cost involved. But the real driver down of cost is working at scale. And so if you can deploy compute and satellite capabilities, and you can bulk purchase data, and then you can run AI across broader data sets, then the total aggregate cost across individual marine protected areas is lower. And so we focused on building a facility that can work globally, and then we can amortize some of the big fixed costs across all of the different sites around the world.
Great.
If I can simply say, you know, something on scalability. It's key that to reduce the costs, we need to scale up these technologies. Okay, so there is an industrial readiness, but costs will go down once we scale up to tens of thousands of devices that are deployed. So actually implementing this technology is the key to make it affordable globally, even in areas that can have less resources. And this actually, it's something we also are very happy that we are supported by impact investors. With our round, Series A was supported by Swan Capital Partners, but also we are an uplink top innovators. This has started giving visibility to these technologies since last year when we won the Ocean Data Challenge. And this, I think, is generally true for this technology. Mm-hmm. Price will go down. Even Wi-Fi at the beginning was costing several thousand euros, but now it's affordable to everybody.
Right. So Anna, I'm going to come to you, whether you want to wear your expert and funding hat or project originator hat. What questions do you have for these solutions?
I will probably wear the project proponent hat because it's something that we haven't heard a lot in the panels today. If you think about a nature-based solution project, we're talking about projects predominantly done in emerging markets and predominantly done by indigenous people and communities. They are the stewards of these habitats. They're also the primary economic beneficiaries. They obviously need a technology that would enable them to measure and verify the activities that they do. But when we talk about affordability, oftentimes we're talking about government spending, defense budgets being a massively big source of income. How do you see your technologies becoming accessible and affordable to project proponents?
My case, I think it's both a question of cost of technology, so we are already are prepared to scale up, and then we know that you can reduce of several factors the cost, and we already have reduced the cost of this technology of 1 order of magnitude in the design phase. And then it's a question also of service model, right? So the fact that you can, for instance, we are proposing in some areas to rent or we are using a multi-stakeholder approach so that we split the cost of what is the monitoring infrastructure among different stakeholders. At the same time, it could be applied not everywhere. For instance, we were talking before about blue carbon sink. I think it's a question of validating the methodology to be able to apply it. Once you have enough representative sites, you have the information that methodology can also be applied safely in different environments.
I think that in our case, it's comparing it to what the alternative is. I mean, if you're looking at a crewed vessel, that can be $30,000, $50,000 a day. If you're operating an uncrewed vessel at $3,000 to $5,000 a day, it's a huge cost saving. That's a scalable solution. And again, if you split that cost against multiple stakeholders and they don't each have to deploy a vessel, that means maybe we can go from 1 or 2 vessels offshore to 20 vessels. Collect more data, provide better enforcement and security for the area. So I think it is the natural point of uncrewed surface vessels is to decrease the cost. Is that affordable for small island nation or developing nations? At this point, not. But this is, I think, where the interesting point around catalytic capital is coming through, where can we raise money, then be able to generate some sort of blue bond or blue carbon credit that can actually be used to offset that cost in the future?
Mm-hmm. And we have like 1 or 2 minutes left, but I think it's also important to highlight that MPA is one use of the technology. Maybe reiterate, like, what are some other uses of the technology that you're seeing? And maybe, Nick, I'll come to you.
Well, we were talking in the context of 30 by 30, but of course the Global Biodiversity Framework really looks to the High Ambition Coalition of 100% EEZ management. And of course, it's pointless having your marine protected areas if you then don't manage the rest of your EEZ. So what we need is scalable solutions that help support the 100% management. And so that links to the previous question as well, because this is a systems problem. And the biggest threat to coastal communities tends to be industrial fishing, not the communities themselves. And so there needs to be a way by which the enforcement practices can actually help keep the industrial fishing offshore, while also supporting small-scale fisheries with things like market access and verification. And so these things actually all come together within this sort of systems concept.
Mm-hmm. Please.
I was thinking about something that could link all of us, I think that what we really need to prove is that investing in marine protected area is really worth the try, because marine protected area is not only about, protecting biodiversity, of course it does, but it also protecting fish stocks. So there is a question of food security. So if we want government, but also private sector to invest more, we have all of us to really show that investing in marine protected area is really worth a try. It's also a way to protect our coastline. It's also a way to support carbon sinks. So that's why I think your technology are really key, because we need more, as I say, marine protected area. We need better marine protected area. But for this, we have to convince, a lot of political leaders that is worth the try, and we need more investments, because, as you said, managing or protecting the ocean is quite expensive.
It is. I apologize, we are at time, but I think it was a good positive note that Romain kind of ended us at. So thank you, everyone, and thank you to our panelists.
Much, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you to all of our panelists for that look at MPAs. Thank you. Thank you again. So we're almost at the end of this Ocean Innovators platform. It has been an incredible jam-packed day full of inspiring discussions, exchanges, all in the hopes of furthering ocean innovation. We're going to close the OIP today with a wrap-up session with some of our partners. Would you please welcome with me now Pierre Vigor from the Solar Impulse Foundation, Stephen Murphy from Climate Impact, Daniela Fernandez from Sustainable Ocean Alliance, and Alexei Groskopf, founder and member of the Steering Committee 1000 Ocean Startups Coalition. Welcome. Here, Alexei, go there. There we go. All right, so we want to get your key takeaways from this OIP. Alexei, I'm going to start with you as co-host of the Ocean Innovators platform. What struck you the most?
Thank you very much. I have my notes because I'm going to try to tie my remarks to what happened today. Olivier, you started us off talking about system change and the need of private sector to be involved in that change. And I agree with you. You'll be happy to learn. I believe that we need to shift things from within. Shifting things from within means leveraging the system that pours naturally fertilizer, and by fertilizer I mean the one that comes in the shape and form of green bills, onto whatever derives economic value. So if we tie ocean, environmental, broadly speaking, impact and social values to social impact to those economic values, will grow the difference, leveraging the system to shift its thing, and fix it by leveraging the system that caused the problem. And I think Albert Einstein will disagree with me, but the times have changed. But it's not enough to just say it, we need to act. So the investors in the room, you guys are what you invest in. The business owners in the room, you are also defined by how you run your operations. We've learned that to end the plastic crisis, we need to phase out of fossil fuel, so we need to design business operations that phases out of fossil fuel. We've heard that to reduce the perceived risk in investment, we need to build a relationship. We've heard it with Mohammed and the Aquaspark Fund. So we need to start connecting and building trust. But we've also heard from Robin that we're entering a spiral of crisis between El Niño and La Niña. And we know that in crisis time, we turn to individualism. But the solution is within collectivism, the opposite of individualism. And the ocean impact innovation ecosystem has been emerging for only a few years. It's been a very welcoming one, a friendly and supportive one. And we need to foster this. We need to keep this spirit as we grow. And this is what we're getting, this is what we're coming to here for, right? The spirit of the Monaco Ocean Week, Monseigneur Olivier Romain, is one of coming together and supporting each other. And that's the mission of 1000 Ocean Startups, the co-host of this event. And we want to foster that. And we have Ingrid here from Catapult Ocean and Ted Janilis from Investable Oceans that are incredible leaders that are leading us through this journey of collectivism. They're your best point of entry if you're entering the ocean impact space. And I would like to thank you, Monseigneur, Olivier, Romain, Ron, and the organization team for keeping that spirit alive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexei. Pierre from the Solar Impulse Foundation, how about you?
Hi, thank you everyone, and thank you again to the foundation, Monseigneur, for inviting us today. I have a few notes as well because it's been a great day and a few takeaways that I got from the different panels. I think we're still using technologies from the past. We've heard it. A lot of great technologies, great solutions exist, but they lack funding, they lack support. So I think, yeah, unfortunately, we're still using technologies from the past, but we have the ones that we need for the future. And I think we heard also that investors were interested by these solutions. And so I think it's a great sign. Second takeaway was a takeaway coming from Billy from Kentra that was explaining that, yes, I have an interesting solution and it can reduce plastic pollution, but my competitors are commoditized products. So I need to be, of course, I am attractive because my solution is more sustainable, but I also need to be cost effective. Otherwise, I'm never going to be where I want to be in the future. And last but not least, I think it's also a change of mindset that we need to undertake, and that's what Bertrand Picard from the Solar Impulse Foundation tries to also share to the different actors and stakeholders. This is an opportunity and not only a crisis. Of course it is a crisis, but it's an opportunity for a lot of different stakeholders, and that's why we need to focus on. Because as you know, Bertrand Picard and the Solar Impulse Foundation, we have the mission to identify clean tech solutions. We have a bit more than 1,500 now that we try to push to the market through access to capital, access to market with public and private partners. And we actually recently launched a platform for innovators like we saw today, that collects their funding needs and put them in touch directly with investors that we also heard today that are ready to invest in these clean tech solutions. So feel free to reach out after this event, and thank you very much again, Monseigneur and the Foundation for this great day.
Pierre, thank you very much. Let's hear now from Climate Impact with Stephen.
Bonjour, thank you very much. My name's Stephen Murphy from Climate Impact. I'm fully aware that I'm an Irishman in between everybody and the bar, so I'll keep it very efficient. My three quick takeaways, firstly, is on the power of storytelling. So we've heard from some amazing scientists and engineers today, and I think we need to really elevate the voice of these people and communicate their technologies. I find a lot of climate activists can be quite, pessimistic maybe, but the climate technology entrepreneurs I get to work with, it's a very optimistic outlook, and I think that's really powerful. I used to work at National Geographic, where I helped some of the biggest companies in the world talk about what they were doing from a sustainability point of view. But the reality, which leads me on to my second point, which is the importance of innovation, that innovation really comes from the entrepreneurs, not from the big companies. And now with Climate Impact, we help these entrepreneurs through a series. We run 40 events a year to connect entrepreneurs with investors across all sectors within climate technology. And then my third point was on building communities, which is what we do at Climate Impact. And circling back to what Olivier was talking about, building coalitions is so important. Amazing job that the team has done to bring so many innovators here today. I've met people at pre-seed, seed, Series A, Series B, so great job. And then just quickly, a quick ask and an offer. My ask is, from a communications point of view, to help raise the profile. It's really great for people who can share on social media what's happening in this room. There's only 200 people here. We need to shout about this to raise awareness around ocean technologies. And then my offer is that we're putting on a conference in 2 months in London. We'll have around 500 of Europe's leading climate tech entrepreneurs and investors. So to any entrepreneurs in the room that want to join, would like a free pass, you're very welcome. Just look out for me. So thanks very much.
That's great, Stephen. Thank you. And finally, Daniela from Sustainable Ocean Alliance.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you, Serene Highness, for being here and for just being a champion for our ocean. There's not many world leaders out there who take the stage to truly uplift the needs that we have. And thank you to the Foundation for our partnership. I'd like to share a couple takeaways and also give an announcement at the very end. But the first takeaway, and I hope that you all feel this, we need to just light a fire in all of us because the urgency is real. All of these innovators are seeking capital not just to make money. They're seeking capital to make a true difference in saving our ocean and our planet. There have been $3 trillion of investment annually that goes towards nature negative investments, and a mere $200 million that goes towards ocean and nature positive investments. That gap that exists is so critical, and we're nowhere near filling it. So I really do advocate for the investors in the room to be ambitious act with urgency and make substantial investments. We have 56 companies in our portfolio that are wasting their time chasing investments, chasing $1 million, $2 billion checks, instead of working on actually building their solutions and scaling them. So I think that's the first point, the urgency of time. The second point, we absolutely require catalytic collaboration. The success of one startup in any of our portfolios means that we're collectively going to win. So we're not going to be able to solve governmental partnerships, pilot corporate partnerships, or education on our own. We truly need all of us collective to come together and find ways to support the ecosystem. Lastly, we need to bring more capital that's not already in the room into this conversation. We need to bring climate, shipping, all the different industries that are not in this room as part of the narrative. Also, there's a lot of old money out there. When I speak with millennial investors, they get it. They understand impact investing, but their families, they don't understand. So how can we bring more of those diverse entities into these conversations to accelerate that capital that we so desperately need? So those are my three takeaways. And lastly, I want to share an announcement from Sustainable Ocean Alliance. And to give some context, we built the world's first ever Ocean Accelerator program. Since then, it's been 10 years in the making. We have accelerated 56 ocean companies. We also have the largest network of young ocean leaders in the world in over 168 countries. And we've realized that we have a series of mentors in our network, a series of partners, opportunities. And we now are launching the C program, which is Sustainable Ocean Alliance Ecopreneur Activate. So we're opening up to government partners, to incubators, accelerators, to have access to the network we have built, so that no one is doing this from scratch. You don't need to go and build your own mentor network or your own investor network. You can access our network as part of our partnership. So I really hope that our effort to open up our network and our platform can enable a lot more entrepreneurs globally and regionally to scale their efforts, because we desperately need them to. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Daniela. So now I'll just say a big thank you again to all of you for your support in this year's Ocean Innovators platform. Thank you, of course, to our partners, Solar Impulse Foundation, Climate Impact, Sustainable Ocean Alliance, as well as Barclays Monaco, Builders Vision, and Unaterra. Thank you as well to our co-hosts, the 1000 Ocean Startups Coalition, and to Olivier Vendin and Romain Ciarrier and the whole Prince Albert II of Monaco Foundation. Let's give them a round of applause. The organization was extraordinary. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of this Ocean Innovators platform. Thank you so much for your energy and for your enthusiasm here today. Now it is your chance to talk about everything that we've talked about today at the cocktail. I also invite you again, if you didn't have a chance, to go check out our featured innovators over in the exhibitors corner. Monseigneur, I invite you to go take a look. It's very interesting. And with that, I will say enjoy your evening, everyone. See you next year.